The police station called during lunch saying, "Your daughter's been arrested. She's asking for you." I told them I wasn't married and had no kids. They said she had my photo in her wallet. I rushed in and saw a stranger, handcuffed and sobbing, who claimed I was her dad. The day my life blew up started like any other. I was in my editing studio in Denver, halfway through cutting a documentary about corruption in wilderness rescues, when my phone rang. Unknown number. Normally, I'd ignore it, but that day, something made me pick up. "Mr. Hale," a woman's voice said. "This is Detective Lopez with the Santa Fe Police Department. Your daughter's been arrested. She's asking for you." I actually laughed. "I don't have a daughter." She hesitated. "Sir, she has multiple photos of you, from different years. You're listed as her father on her ID. She's 19. We need you to come down to the station." I froze. "My name is Eli Hale, and I make documentaries about the darkest things people do to each other. Murderers, cover-ups, fraud. I've stared into the eyes of liars for 20 years. But right then, I couldn't tell what the hell was real. When I told my best friend and producer, Nick, he just stared. "Eli, this might sound weird," he said, "but last week, I thought I saw your wife Vanessa with some guy at the Iron Fox bar. They looked close." My stomach dropped. Vanessa was supposed to be in Santa Fe that same week, running her art gallery. "You sure?" He shrugged. "Could have been someone else. But you might want to check." Before I could respond, the detective called again. "Mr. Hale, we need you here. Now." I drove 3 hours in silence. The desert felt endless, like the world had opened its mouth and swallowed me whole. When I got to the station, they led me down a hallway lined with flickering fluorescent lights. My shoes squeaked. Every sound felt too loud. Then the door opened, and my whole body went cold. The girl inside was shaking. Mascara streaked down her cheeks. Her eyes, my mother's eyes. Same hazel shade, same gold flecks. When she looked up and whispered, "Dad," I swear, the air left my lungs. I told myself it was a mistake, a scam, something orchestrated. But then she pulled out a wallet filled with photos, me from different years, candid shots I never took. Some even looked like surveillance. "Mom said you paid her to disappear," she said. "That you didn't want me." My mind spun. Someone had built this lie from the ground up. Carefully, deliberately, and I had a sick, crawling feeling I knew who. My wife, Vanessa, always said art was about shaping reality. Maybe she'd decided to shape mine. And that's when the detective said something that made my knees go weak. The drugs we found in her car, they were hidden in the spare tire well. 2 ounces of cocaine. Enough for intent to distribute. Someone set her up, and whoever it was, wanted your name attached. I felt the world tilt. My wife was supposed to be on a business trip, but I was starting to think she was in Santa Fe, just not for art. Vanessa and I met 12 years ago at a photography exhibit in Santa Fe. I was screening my first indie documentary about a botched missing person case. She was curating a show for local artists. I still remember the way she looked that night. Sharp, confident, with a voice that could convince anyone she already knew every secret in the room. We moved fast. Within a year, we were married. No kids by choice, we said. She wanted to build her gallery empire. I wanted to chase stories in the dark corners of America. It worked for a while. Separate lives, shared victories. When we were together, it felt like stability. Or maybe it just looked like it. We built a beautiful house outside Denver. All glass and clean lines. The kind of place people assumed meant success. But I should have noticed the distance growing. Her trips got longer, her explanations vaguer. When I'd ask about the new pieces she was acquiring, she'd brush me off. "Eli, you chase truth for a living. Maybe let me have a few secrets." The thing is, I trusted her. That's the part that still burns. About 6 months before everything imploded, she convinced me to move part of my production company's funds into a joint account for tax purposes. She even had her financial advisor, Drake, walk me through it. I signed. No questions. Because that's what you do when you think someone's on your side. Then, last Tuesday, when that so-called daughter appeared out of nowhere, Something clicked. At the station, the detective kept pressing. Sir, the girl said her mother's name is Lydia Barron. She insists you met in Los Angeles back in 2008. That year hit me like a punch. I was 27, drunk half the time, filming a piece about underground nightclubs. There was a woman named Lydia, a set designer, I think. We spent a wild weekend together. I barely remembered her face, but the name made my chest tighten. Could this be real? Could I actually have a daughter I never knew about? No, impossible. Felt too constructed. They let me see the girl again. Her name was Sophia. She told me her mom said I'd paid her to disappear, that I didn't want the baby, that after years of pretending I didn't exist, I'd finally changed my mind and told her to meet me here, through a lawyer. When I asked for proof, she showed me texts from an untraceable burner number, messages written too precisely, too calm to be a 19-year-old's fantasy. Someone had been pulling strings. And right then, Detective Lopez asked a question that froze my blood. Mr. Hale, does your wife know about any of this? Vanessa Cross Hale. That's her name, right? I nodded. The detective frowned. Because one of our officers recognized that name. She's connected to a gallery in Santa Fe, the same one where the drugs were found. The tip that led to the traffic stop came from a gallery employee. That's when I realized the truth. This wasn't some random blackmail attempt. This was an operation. And whoever orchestrated it knew my life inside out. Vanessa always said I was obsessed with other people's lies. She wasn't wrong. I just never imagined the biggest one would be lying next to me in our bed. By the time I left the Santa Fe police station, my head was a hurricane. If you've ever been sure your life was built on solid ground, only to feel it start cracking under your feet, you know, that kind of dizziness. I kept replaying the last few months with Vanessa, trying to see the parts I'd missed. She'd been distant, sure, but now every small thing looked different. The sudden concern about my mental health. The way she'd started handling our finances, so I could focus on filming. The new password lock on her phone she claimed was for gallery business. It all made sense now in the ugliest way possible. When I got home that night, I didn't go inside. I sat in my truck and called Nick. He answered on the second ring. You at the house? Yeah. Don't go in yet, he said. You're being watched. That stopped my breathing cold. What do you mean? I checked the cameras you installed last year, the ones in your office. 2 days ago, someone accessed the feed remotely. Someone with your wife's login. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. She's spying on me? She's building something, Nick said quietly. And it's not good. You need proof before you confront her. I sat there in the dark for a long time before finally going inside. Vanessa wasn't home, of course. The house smelled faintly of her perfume, bergamot and something metallic, like coins. I went straight to her studio, locked, naturally. I picked the latch with an old screwdriver, heart pounding. Inside, her sleek MacBook, a safe in the corner, and a thick stack of papers on her desk. That's where I saw it, a life insurance policy. $2 million. Beneficiary, Vanessa Cross Hale. Signed 6 months ago. Forged with my digital signature. I took photos of everything. Then I opened her laptop. What I found made me nauseous. Emails between Vanessa and a man named Drake Rowan, the same financial advisor she'd introduced me to. Except these weren't about investments. They were about me. Once he's declared mentally unfit, I can access the joint account without legal delays. Swanson said he's ready to sign the evaluation papers as soon as I bring Eli in for a session. Perfect, Drake replied. We move the funds offshore the same week. After that, he disappears quietly, and no one asks questions. I felt my chest seize. Declared mentally unfit. They were going to have me committed. I backed away from the desk, shaking so hard the papers blurred. Every documentary I'd ever made was about deception, but nothing I'd filmed compared to this. My wife and her lover were writing the end of my story in real time. My phone buzzed. Text from Vanessa. Headed home early. Missed you. We'll talk tonight. I looked at the screen for a long time. The woman who was texting me sweet nothings was also planning to erase me. And that's when another message came through, from an unknown number. A single photo. It showed me sitting in the interrogation room with Sophia, her hand on mine. The caption read, "500,000 in crypto. 48 hours. Or the world sees this." The blackmail was already in motion, and I realized something terrifying. They didn't just want to ruin my name. They wanted to make sure when I disappeared, it looked like I deserved it. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in my home office, surrounded by notes and screenshots, trying to piece together the puzzle before it swallowed me whole. Vanessa was the face of it, sure. But there was something about Drake Rowan that didn't fit. He wasn't just some boyfriend helping her steal money. He was orchestrating this with surgical precision. By sunrise, I made a decision. I wasn't going to the cops, not yet. I'd seen too many men destroyed by half-baked allegations before the truth came out. I needed solid evidence, and I knew how to get it. I'd made my career catching liars on camera. This time, the liar was my wife. Nick came over that morning, coffee in one hand, his old shoulder rig camera in the other. "You sure you're ready for this?" he asked. "No," I said. "But I'm done letting her write my story." We installed hidden cameras in the living room and bedroom. Tiny mics in her favorite vase, even one inside a lamp. Every move she made from now on would be documented. Then, before leaving, Nick turned to me. "You realize she's dangerous, right? This isn't just about money." I met his eyes. "I know." Vanessa got home that afternoon. Her performance could have won an Oscar. "Oh my God. Eli, you look awful," she said, throwing her arms around me. "I heard about that poor girl. Are you okay?" Her voice cracked perfectly, half pity, half concern. "I don't know," I murmured, playing my part. "She said I'm her father." Ness said I abandoned her. I don't remember. Maybe I drank more back then than I thought." Her hand lingered on my face. "You've been under so much stress, baby. Maybe we should talk to someone. Just to make sure you're okay." That's when she mentioned him. "Dr. Swanson. He's worked with artists before, gentle, discreet. I could schedule something for you." I nodded, feigning exhaustion. "Yeah, maybe that's smart." Her relief was instant. Too instant. I knew right then that Dr. Swanson wasn't just some therapist. He was part of the plan. Later that night, after she went to bed, I checked the bugs Nick had set up. She was on a call, whispering in the bathroom. "He's cracking." I mentioned Swanson, and he didn't resist. "We're close." Then a male voice, Drake's. "Good. Once he's in Swanson's office, we'll have what we need. The paperwork's ready. The fake medical history, the erratic behavior reports, all of it. You just need to make him snap once." "And then?" she asked quietly. "Then we commit him. You collect. I transfer. And in 6 months, we disappear." There it was. The confirmation. But something about Drake's tone made my skin crawl. There was something in it that wasn't love. It was control. Ownership. When Vanessa hung up, she stayed in the bathroom for a long time. I could hear her crying softly through the vent. Not regretful tears, nervous ones. Afraid ones. That's when it hit me. She wasn't the one running this show. Drake was. And if she ever tried to back out, he'd destroy her too. The next morning, I called in a favor. A contact from one of my old documentaries, Rita Morales, a retired FBI agent who now worked private investigations out of Albuquerque. When I explained the situation, she didn't hesitate. "You're being set up for a psychiatric commitment," she said. "Classic financial wipeout scheme. I've seen it before. But this Drake guy, he's not some gallery con. He used to be a financial fixer for criminal networks in LA, disappeared for 5 years. Resurfaced under a new name. So Drake wasn't just Vanessa's lover. He was a ghost with a track record in erasing people for money." Rita sent me a file within hours. Inside was a photo of Drake from 2016. He had a different name then. Daniel Cross. Vanessa's maiden name. My wife hadn't just betrayed me with a stranger. She'd been working with her brother. When I learned Drake Rowan was really Daniel Cross, Vanessa's brother, something in me snapped. All those years she'd kept him out of her life, or so she'd claimed. The estranged sibling, the troubled addict, the one she said she cut off for good. Turns out, she didn't cut him off. She weaponized him. I didn't call Vanessa out right away. I needed her to keep believing I was unraveling. So I played the part, the confused, guilt-ridden husband. I stopped shaving. I drank too much coffee, paced the house, left half-edited footage scattered around. I became the version of me they wanted the world to see. Unstable, broken, paranoid. Behind the mask, I was building something else. Rita, the ex-FBI investigator, went all in. She traced offshore transfers connected to Daniel and Vanessa through a shell company called Silver Verge Holdings, based out of Belize. Every month, small amounts siphoned from our joint account landed there. Nothing huge, just enough to avoid attention. But over time, it added up to nearly $700,000. She also found the life insurance policy, the one forged in my name. That's premeditated fraud, Rita said. And if they drug you or fake medical records, that's false imprisonment. We build this right, it's a slam dunk. But we'll need to bait them. Bait? I asked. You let them think it's working. Let Vanessa believe you're close to breaking. Let Daniel think you're ready for Swanson's evaluation. They'll make their move, and when they do, we record everything. Nick loved it. We're turning your life into the ultimate exposé, he said. You don't just survive this, you document it. We spent 3 nights setting up hidden cameras in my truck, my office, even the kitchen. Every corner became a trap. Rita installed GPS trackers on Vanessa's car and tapped her phone through a clone SIM. By day 4, we had everything in place. All we needed was to push Vanessa toward the final phase. So I called her. Vanessa, I said, voice trembling. You were right. I can't sleep. I keep thinking about that girl. Maybe she is mine. I don't feel like myself anymore. Maybe I should see Dr. Swanson after all. She went quiet, then soft. Too soft. Oh, baby, that's the right call. I'll set it up for Friday. We'll get through this. Okay? Her tone dripped with false tenderness. The same voice she used when she was trying to sell a piece of forged art to a gullible collector. But I played along. That night, she called Daniel. I heard every word through the audio feed. Vanessa, he's ready. I told you he'd break if we pushed him long enough. Daniel, good. The doctor's expecting you. After the evaluation, you'll sign the transfer documents. Keep him calm until then. If he suspects anything, Vanessa, he won't. He trusts me. Daniel, he shouldn't. There was a pause, and then I heard something else. Her voice cracked. Danny, after this we're done, right? We take the money and disappear. You'll disappear, he said flatly. I've got other loose ends to tie up. Her silence said everything. Vanessa might have thought she was his partner, but Daniel was already planning to cut her out. Maybe permanently. Rita leaned back from the speaker feed, eyes narrowing. He's done this before, at least twice. Both women ended up missing. Then we stop him before he gets the chance, I said. Friday was the day everything would collide. The fake psychiatric evaluation, the forged documents, and the final phase of their plan. And I'd be there, smiling for the camera. Because this time I was the one staging the scene. Friday morning felt too still, that kind of silence before a storm. The air in the house was heavy, like it already knew what was coming. Vanessa was all smiles when she woke up. She brought me coffee in bed, kissed my forehead, told me how brave I was for getting help. Her hand lingered on mine like she actually meant it. For 1 second, I almost believed the woman I married still existed underneath all that poison. Then I saw her purse. She never let it out of sight, not once. But when she went to the bathroom, I peeked inside. Inside, tucked between tissues and lipstick, was a capped syringe. My blood went cold. Sedative, clear liquid, no label. She was planning to drug me if I resisted. I put everything back exactly how I found it and played my part. When she came back, I smiled weakly. You're right. I'll let Dr. Swanson help me. She touched my face, smiling like a saint. That's my husband. We got in the car at noon. Nick followed from a distance, pretending to be another driver. Rita and 2 local cops were staged a block from Dr. Swanson's office, waiting for my signal. Everything was wired, audio, video, the works. Vanessa didn't say much on the drive. Just hummed softly, like she was calming herself. Her right hand stayed glued to that purse. Halfway there, she glanced at me. "You trust me, right?" I met her eyes. "Of course." She smiled faintly, but it didn't reach her eyes. When we reached the office, Dr. Swanson greeted us calmly. He'd already been briefed by Rita. He was in on the sting. "Come in, Mr. Hale," he said warmly. "Why don't you and your wife both join me?" The session started off routine, small talk, mental health questions, memory checks. I answered everything clearly, rationally. Swanson nodded along. Vanessa shifted beside me, growing tense. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Finally, she snapped. "Doctor, you're not seeing what I see. He's been paranoid for weeks. He yells, forgets things, accuses me of cheating. He's not well." Swanson raised an eyebrow. "I don't see any evidence of psychosis, Mrs. Hale. In fact, he's remarkably composed." Her voice rose. "He's dangerous. He threatened me." That's when I pulled out my phone, set it on the desk, and hit play. Her voice filled the room, the recording from the night before. "He's ready. After the evaluation, you'll sign the transfer documents. Keep him calm until then. Then Daniels. You'll disappear. I've got other loose ends to tie up." Vanessa went sheet white. Where did you get that?" I didn't answer. I just watched as she realized the trap had closed. But before she could speak again, my phone buzzed with a new message, a live video feed. I glanced at the screen and felt my stomach turn to ice. It was Nick. He was tied to a chair in my living room, blood on his face. Behind him, grinning like a shark, was Daniel Cross. He looked straight into the camera. "Hey, Eli, you didn't think I'd let you have all the fun, did you?" Vanessa gasped, stumbling back. "Danny, what are you doing?" Daniel smirked. "Cleaning up. You two got sloppy." He looked right at me through the lens. "You've got 1 hour, Hale. Bring the drive with all your evidence to me, or your friend dies." And then the video cut. Vanessa was shaking, tears welling. "He said he wouldn't. He promised he wouldn't hurt anyone." I turned to her slowly. "You're crying now? After all this?" Rita burst into the office seconds later, phone in hand. "We traced the signal. He's at your house, Eli. We're moving in." Vanessa clutched her chest. "He'll kill him. You don't understand what Danny's capable of." I looked her dead in the eye. "Oh, I understand. Better than you ever did." Because in that moment, I realized something Daniel hadn't. Every camera in my house, the same ones I'd hidden to trap Vanessa, were still streaming live to a secure cloud. Every move Daniel made was being recorded in real time. And by the time I got there, the whole world would see exactly who he was. By the time we pulled up to my house, there were at least 3 unmarked cars hiding along the street. Rita's team was waiting for my cue. But before I gave it, I told her, "Don't move until I say. I want him to talk first. I need to hear why." She hesitated. "You really want to get inside that house with him there?" "I spent 20 years listening to killers explain themselves," I said. "He's no different." Inside, the place was dark, quiet except for Nick's muffled groans. Daniel had tied him to one of my studio chairs, duct tape over his mouth. He was bleeding from the temple, but alive. Daniel stepped out from the shadows like he'd been waiting for applause. "Welcome home, filmmaker," he said. "Figured you'd want to end this where it started." "Let him go," I said. "You've already lost." Daniel laughed. "Lost? You think your little sting matters? You think anyone cares about another self-righteous storyteller with a hero complex?" He waved his gun lazily toward Nick. "The world eats stories like yours for breakfast. Victims and villains. People like you make me money." I took a step closer. "Why me, Daniel? You could have conned anyone. Why destroy my life?" His smile thinned. "Because of my father." That stopped me cold. "Your father?" He paced in front of me, voice tightening. "You never met him. Dr. Thomas Cross. Psychiatrist. The man who declared half the city's broken sons and daughters crazy, so they could be locked away. My father destroyed people for a paycheck. Same kind of people you exploit for your documentaries. He pointed the gun at me, voice sharp now. And my sister, your loving wife, was his favorite experiment. He used her, medicated her, called her unstable when she tried to talk about what he did. You ever wonder why she's so good at pretending? Because she learned it in that house. I felt my stomach twist. So this was revenge. Correction, he said. It was justice. Vanessa married you because you were the perfect mark. Another man obsessed with truth, too arrogant to see the lies under his own roof. You were supposed to be our masterpiece. Your masterpiece? I repeated. Every story needs a villain, he said, almost gently. You were going to be the rich filmmaker who lost his mind, who confessed to crimes he didn't commit, who tragically took his own life. The footage, the records, the notes, all edited by us. You'd be famous forever. Posthumous pity. Meanwhile, we'd collect everything you left behind. I could almost see the plan unfolding in his mind, how carefully they'd built it, every piece of it documented and weaponized. He was proud of it, proud enough to want me to understand before he finished the job. Vanessa, standing near the doorway, was trembling. Danny, stop. This isn't what we... Shut up, he snapped. You think you're clean in this? You wanted the money as much as I did. He turned the gun toward her. You told me you'd do whatever it took. Her face went gray. I didn't mean... Danny, please. That was when I saw it. The tiny red light on the bookshelf camera blinking steadily. He had no idea the whole confession was streaming live to the cloud. To Rita. To the police. To anyone watching through the secured feed. Daniel took a step toward me. I could have been a filmmaker too, you know. I knew how to stage reality. But I learned something better. People don't care about truth. They care about narrative. And I just wrote yours. Funny, I said quietly. So did I. Before he could react, the front door exploded open. Rita's team flooding in, guns drawn. Daniel spun toward them, weapon raised, but he never got the chance to fire. One of the officers tackled him hard, the gun clattering across the floor. Vanessa collapsed to her knees, sobbing, hands over her face. Rita cuffed Daniel herself, reading his rights while he grinned like a madman. You think this is over? He spat. You think people won't watch me now? You just made me famous. I looked him dead in the eye. You wanted a story, Daniel? Congratulations. You're the villain in mine. Daniel was hauled out of my house still smiling. A sick, cracked grin that said he thought he'd won something anyway. Vanessa sat on the floor, frozen, whispering his name over and over like a prayer that wouldn't come true. Rita crouched next to her. You want to make this easy? Tell us everything. Vanessa just stared at me. You filmed all of this, didn't you? I didn't deny it. Every word, every lie, every threat. Her eyes filled with tears. He said it was for us, that we'd start over. You don't understand, Eli. He was all I had left. You had a choice, I said quietly. And you chose the money. They took her away that night. Daniel went straight to jail for kidnapping and attempted murder. Vanessa was charged as an accessory. Fraud, conspiracy, forgery, obstruction. 2 separate trials. 2 separate sentences. But both of them lost the only thing they ever really cared about. Control. I didn't sleep for 3 days after it ended. The house still smelled like fear and gun oil. Nick was home, stitched up and recovering. He kept cracking jokes like it was his way of pretending he wasn't traumatized. Guess I finally made it into one of your documentaries, he said. Next time, maybe cast me as a cameraman and not a hostage? Rita and I compiled every recording, every bank transfer, every phone log. She handed it to the DA. The case was airtight. But for me, that wasn't enough. I needed the story told. Not just to ruin them, to own it. Because if there's one thing Daniel was right about, it's that people don't care about truth. They care about narrative. So I decided to give them one that would burn his legacy to ash. The documentary dropped 6 months later. Title: The Frame Job. Tagline: What happens when a documentarian becomes the subject? It opened with the footage of me in that interrogation room, the daughter crying, the drugs, the setup, everything they wanted the world to see. Then it flipped. Audio of Vanessa's calls, Daniel's confession, the fake psychiatric plan, the blackmail, the kidnapping. All of it stitched together like the monster story it was. By the time it hit streaming, it went viral. The comments were brutal, the outrage title. People weren't just horrified, they were fascinated. Daniel had wanted fame. He got it, just not the kind he could enjoy. He was convicted of attempted murder, fraud, and conspiracy, 25 years. Vanessa got 15. The judge called her the smiling accomplice in a nightmare. And me? I didn't feel victorious. I felt empty, like I'd been hollowed out and refilled with camera static. You don't win against people like that. You just survive them. A year later, I drove to Santa Fe. Met Sophia, the girl they'd used to bait me. She'd cut ties with everyone from her mother's old life, got a job at a bookstore, started studying photography. When she saw me, she said, "I'm sorry. I didn't know who to believe." I told her, "You don't have to believe anyone. Just keep telling your own story." Before I left, she handed me a photo, me and her at that first meeting, both scared, both manipulated. She said she kept it to remind herself that lies can make strangers look like family. It's been 2 years now. I still make documentaries, but not about crime anymore. I film survivors, people who crawled out of other people's chaos and kept breathing anyway. Sometimes reporters ask how it felt to turn my own life into a film. I always tell them the same thing. Revenge doesn't fix you. It just documents who broke you. Then I smile for the camera because after everything, I finally control the frame. They tried to bury me in a story they wrote, but I rewrote the ending and hit record.